Alright, in this video I'm going to be going over some of the biggest upsets in NFL history and times where the team that was not supposed to win absolutely throttled the team that was favored in the first place. Okay, the first video I ever did on this channel was on Super Bowl III and Joe Namath's guarantee as a whole, but unlike in that first video, which is terrible quality, do not watch that, I am going to go as in-depth into the Jets' win and all the insane factors that led to their victory. So back in 1968, the NFL hadn't completely merged yet, and there was still two separate leagues, one being the AFL and the other being the NFL. And at the end of each season, the best team from the AFL would play against the best team from the NFL, and in the year of 1969, Super Bowl III would be the Jets versus the Colts. And going into this game, the Jets, who were the best team in the AFL, had not completely convinced a lot of people that they were actually even a good football team as a whole. They had struggled throughout the regular season a little bit and ended up squeaking through a lot of games by barely beating their opponents. For example, in week 3, they ended up losing to the Buffalo Bills, who went 1-12 that year. 1-12! And somehow that's not even the worst part, because after losing to that awful Buffalo Bills team, the spread going into that game was the biggest loss by any football team in history. So during this season, the Jets owned the biggest point spread in NFL history and blew it to the Bills, and then came into the Super Bowl against the Colts with the biggest point spread this time going against them and won. I'm sorry, but that is the most Jets thing that I have ever heard in my entire life. And the playoffs were way different back then, as because the Jets were the 1 seed, all they had to do was beat the Raiders in the championship game and they were moving on straight to the Super Bowl. There they would meet the Baltimore Colts, who everyone was expecting to just mop the floor with the Jets. But I think people truly don't understand how insane of an upset this actually was, because damn near nobody took the AFL serious at all. It would be like if an XFL team had just came into the playoffs and ended up beating like the Rams or something. That is literally what happened in Super Bowl III. And not only that, but Joe Namath literally guaranteed the win before and ended up being right. So yeah, no upset similar to this one has ever happened before or since then. But hey, some have come pretty damn close. Alright, well, Super Bowl 42, you all know it. The undefeated New England Patriots against the underdog New York Giants. Now, I do personally believe that this 2007 Patriots team was the best football team ever assembled, but they weren't actually invincible going into the playoffs. Because in the regular season, this Patriots team was absolutely throttling everyone, dropping 40 points a game like it was nothing. But moving more towards the end of the year, they started winning their games by fewer and fewer points, and then in the playoffs, they squeaked by the Jaguars and Chargers by about 10 points each. Also take into factor that the Giants had only lost to the Patriots by 3 points in the last week of the season, and there were some people out there who truly believed that the Giants would beat the Patriots. And now let's look at the Giants side of things, who were led by, I don't know, this guy? They really didn't have like that Tom Brady or Randy Moss that the Patriots had, but it, Eli Manning will do. This Giants team is the Cinderella team of all Cinderella teams. They ended up going into Tampa Bay and beating them handily in the wild card, then upset the 13-3 Cowboys in the divisional round, and then moved on into Lambeau Field and beat the Packers. Let me repeat that. The Giants, who were not even expected to make it out of the second round, ended up going into Lambeau Field on Brett Favre's last game of his entire Packers career and stunned them. Absolutely stunned them, which set up the Super Bowl between the Patriots and the red-hot Giants. And if you throw in some pressure from the media, and the Patriots being pretty cocky,
we're only gonna score 17 points? Okay. 23-17. I wish he said like 45-42 or something like that. At least he gave us a little more credit for scoring a few points.
you end up getting the perfect recipe for a true historic NFL upset. But honestly, if it weren't for the most miraculous play in NFL history happening, I don't think the Giants win that game. But hey, I think that's like written in the Bible that Eli Manning has to beat Tom Brady in every single meaningful game ever. So, I mean, I guess. But let's move on to the complete opposite spectrum, where the Patriots are the ones getting the upset. So, in Super Bowl 36, in hindsight, we all look at this as the time that the New England Patriots dynasty was born. And if you want to look at a few games back, you could argue that if it weren't for Drew Bledsoe filling in for Tom Brady and the Tuck rule happening, that the Patriots should have absolutely no reason to be playing in the Super Bowl in the first place. And once again, again, at this time in 2001, the narrative behind the Patriots was completely different. There was absolutely no idea of an evil empire. Bill Belichick's entire reputation was just a failed Bill Parcells wannabe, and Tom Brady was just some Cinderella quarterback who was probably just going to lose his job to Drew Bledsoe in the next season. I mean, the Rams started off their year going 6-0, and the Patriots started off their year going 1-3. And on top of all of that, in week 10, the Patriots ended up losing to the Rams. And in that game, Tom Brady really struggled. So it looked like in the Super Bowl, the Patriots were not going to be able to break through the Rams defense, and the greatest show on turf, who they were going against, the literal best offense of all time, would absolutely shred the defense of the Patriots like they'd done to every defense before that. So once again, on paper, this looked like a dynasty going up against some overachieving fluke. And shockingly, the Patriots were not the dynasty. But Bill Belichick, being the defensive mastermind he was able to shut off the Rams for 3 quarters, only allowing 1 field goal. So going into the 4th quarter, the Patriots had built a 17-3 lead, and things looked pretty damn good for the most part, until 2 straight touchdowns by the Rams, and now we had a tie game. And this is where most people know the game from, because this last drive by Tom Brady would be the perceived start of the New England Patriots dynasty and Tom Brady's career as an NFL legend. You got John Madden telling him to take a knee and take it to overtime, but Adam Vinatieri ends up kicking the game-winning field goal, thus birthing the New England Patriots dynasty that we all know and hate today. So those 3 Super Bowls are the most well-known upsets in NFL history, but this one I think goes under the radar for reasons I'm not sure. So Super Bowl 32 took place between the Denver Broncos and the Green Bay Packers. This was supposed to be a wild showdown between John Elway and Brett Favre, and it really was that. The 2 gunslingers were going back and forth, scoring touchdown after touchdown, and really it was a super entertaining game. The narrative going into this game was the 37-year-old John Elway at quarterback for the Broncos, who at this point had not won a Super Bowl in his entire career. He had gone to 3 Super Bowls prior and lost each and every one of them throughout his 15-year career so far. So he was really very close to retiring at this point, and people didn't know if he would even come back after this year. And for most of the game, it was a scoring stalemate, as it was 24-24 in the 4th quarter, with the Broncos having the ball. This gave John Elway one more chance to rewrite his NFL career forever. And to his credit, he ended up doing exactly that. On the most iconic play of the game, and one of the most iconic plays ever, John Elway gets an insane, maybe, I don't know, 3 inches off the ground, but hey, the message was definitely sent. When 37-year-old John Elway was willing to put his entire body on the line for maybe 2 more yards, this sent an adrenaline rush throughout the entire Denver Broncos team. So yeah, at this point, the Packers had absolutely no momentum, and the Broncos scored a touchdown and won the Super Bowl. And looking back on it, this was Brett Favre's best chance to win a Super Bowl after his one with Reggie White in 1996, and he never won another one after this. The Packers had a -11 spread, and honestly, they really should have won this game. At this point, Brett Favre was coming off of 3 straight MVPs, and that's why I think this upset of an old man John Elway getting his first Super Bowl does not get enough credit as it does. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, then like and comment, because it really helps the channel a lot. And you can even subscribe if you feel like you might want to come back and watch more videos just like this one. But anyways, until next time.